Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bookmarked Chapter 17. So, today we are going to be talking about making friends online and how you can do that very difficult thing. First of all, we wanted to go through a few housekeeping items, I guess, but we do have a survey out right now that we put out a couple of days ago. So, it's just kind of going over what you guys want to see from us and the kind of different things you want us to do. There's a few questions there. It would only take a few seconds. So I do have the link in the description down below, and it will be on the Twitter page as well. Basically, the big thing that we've gotten so far is that people want more interaction, which we definitely want as well. So we're going to be kind of troubleshooting some ways that we can do that and be a little bit more interactive about things. Also, I do have glasses. They're not like real glasses. They block the blue light because I get headaches from staring at my computer screen for too long when I'm editing or writing. So they do that, but they don't help me see. I can see fine on my own. But anyways,
Flex, but okay.
it's not a flex. Oh God. But one of the things that we talked about and that we asked in the survey was if any of you guys would be interested in us doing a book club in addition to our weekly live shows that we're doing. And overwhelming amount of you have been saying yes. So that will probably be coming soon, but details will be to come on that. But one of the other things that we're going to be doing is we are going to be working with Twitter a lot more because Twitter is a big platform where we're able to interact with you guys a lot more. So we're going to be getting questions ahead of time, and that way we can be a little bit better prepared when we actually go live. So if you guys wanted to go and follow the Bookmarked Twitter, it is at Bookmarked Club, but that is also in the description. So I think that's all that I had to say. Also, I'm echoing somewhere. I don't know where, but
it was 93.6% of people wanted the book club. So overwhelmingly number of people. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, it was nice to see that. But I guess we'll talk about what we're currently reading now, since that's the next thing. So I'm currently reading 2 books. I'm reading King of Scars. Don't spoil me because I will be very angry. And then I'm also listening to the audiobook for Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye.
What is that one about?
It is feudal Japan, a fantasy. So I'm really enjoying it because I feel like Western-based fantasies, I've had enough of it. So I'm really liking it. She's the author of The Crown's Game, which I liked a lot. That was kind of like the Night Circus, except I liked it more than the Night Circus. Sorry, Hannah.
Tragic.
I know, it really is. Truly is. But this one I am enjoying. I'm not very far into the audiobook, but it came in the fairy loot and it has like these dusted purple edges. It's really pretty. Mm-hmm. I was really excited about that. And then King of Scars, I'm 55 pages into it. So I'm not that far into it. Don't tell me your opinions. Don't tell me anything about it until I've finished it.
I am currently reading, let me grab it one second. 2 books, one that I've been reading for like a while, which is The Truth About Keeping Secrets by Savannah Brown. I'm still reading that. I just haven't made any progress since I was on our trip. But I'm currently reading The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I'm listening to the audiobook right now, and we're supposed to be buddy reading it, like the 3 of us. And I was listening to it on my flight home. And I hate, there are 2 narrators for this, by the way. I hate one of the narrators like so much. He's terrible, like absolutely terrible. So I've decided to just switch to reading the physical book because I can't stand him and he's making me hate the book. But yeah, that's my current thoughts on that.
Are you liking it more now that you're physically reading it?
Well, I haven't like continued reading it since like 2 days ago because I haven't had time, but I think I'll like it if I read it like more because his narration is just so bad. It's so bad.
Well, I am still reading Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, the second book in the Grisha trilogy. Grisha, that's how she said it, which was very odd. We went to the book signing last week and she said Grisha, which I've never heard before. I've only heard people on BookTube say Grisha. It was a mess. But I'm liking it. I'm only like 50 pages into it because they were at my house and I didn't read anything when they were at my house, and I still haven't read anything. I haven't been here for a few days, but So, should we just jump right in?
Yeah.
Okay, well, a lot of people were asking, we can just start with how we became online friends because we just spent a week together and it was a lot of fun. We went to Harry Potter World, and so a lot of people were wondering when we became friends, how we became friends, how we developed all of our booktube friendships. If Hannah, would you like to explain the story of our friendship?
Sure.
Oh, thanks.
So Zoe and I became friends when I replied to one of her tweets about the Ostentatious Book Club, about how I was excited to watch the live show for Pride and Prejudice. I think it was the first one. And then she DM'd me and she was like, "Hey, would you like to be a part of one of like the next live shows?" And I was like, "Sure, that's awesome. I would love to." And then she ghosted me for like months.
Yeah, buddy. That's the way we do it here.
I'm not judging you. I ghost everybody. I ghost you guys like on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And then eventually she reached out to me again and she's like, "Hey, do you want to be in this live show?" So then I was in the live show with her. And then we just talked afterwards. I think like a bunch of us were talking afterwards. And then Zoe and I just like continued FaceTiming frequently. And then we just became friends. And then Hailey and I became friends because this is sad, but my cat was dying. And she DM'd me on Instagram and she was like, I just realized the moral of both of these stories is that I don't reach out to anyone and everyone reaches out to me. But she DM'd me and she was like, that was when Jackson was sick too.
Yeah.
Her cat was also sick and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going through something similar." So then we talked about it a little bit. And then we eventually were like both going to go to BookCon and BEA. And so we decided to be roommates and just got to talking more after that. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
Zoe and I literally just became friends because I was at
September.
Bookland. Yeah, it's been since September, even though it feels like it's been so much longer. But yeah, we became friends then, and then she had the idea to do this, and then we were like, Hannah should join too, and then a friendship was born.
Yeah.
So it's all because of me.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha. But yeah, so I'm sorry about ghosting you. I ghost everybody.
It's okay.
But I came back in the end. But yeah, that's how it happened. So I usually find my friends on Twitter because I'm on Twitter all the time, which isn't, healthy, but that's what we do. But we actually did some Twitter polls today, and I was asking how let me look for it. Oops, sorry. Oh, I spelled bookmarked wrong. Bookmarked.
Bookmarked. We're going back to our Halloween episode.
But I did some Twitter polls asking, in your opinion, what is the best platform for making friends online? And 67% of people said Twitter, which I also agree with because that's how I've met and found out about so many booktubers. And you can really see people's day-to-day personality instead of like booktube. It's much easier to build friendships there. I know some people say like, oh, comment on people's videos and all of that, but you can't really develop that much of a dialogue. It's mostly focused on the topic of the video, but then with Twitter, you can just post whatever, and DMs are good too. But 21% of people said Instagram is the best platform, 7% said YouTube, 5% said Goodreads, and a lot of people commented saying that Tumblr is a really good place to find online friends, which I didn't realize people even found friends on Tumblr because I'm not on Tumblr, but Hannah is.
Back in the days where I had a fandom blog, I had so many Tumblr friends. Like I didn't use Twitter. I hated Instagram. I didn't use anything. Tumblr was the place to meet people. I like met up with people. Like I actually made friends through Tumblr. It was, I don't know about anymore because Tumblr's like low key dead now, but Tumblr was a great place to meet people.
R.I.P.
Honestly, R.I.P.
But the next Twitter poll was, have you ever met your online friends in person? 38% said yes, which I was really
surprising.
Yeah.
Because so many of the online friends I've found have been like in California or like England or something like that.
Yeah.
And I know for Hailey, like
or Canada.
no
one lives in Canada. The Arctic tundra.
The next Twitter poll was, do you feel like you need to meet them in person for it to be a quote-unquote real friendship? And 85% said no, which I also agree with. And the final poll was, what did you and your online friends first bond over? 49% said books or booktube, 22% said TV shows or movies, 19% said music, and 10% said other, and a lot of the people who said other were video games. So that's just a little bit of polls there. If you want to, we're going to try to do polls for a lot of upcoming live shows, so if you want to do the poll stuff, follow us on Twitter. I really like polls. Anyway.
Just some way to make it more interactive. That's why we're doing stuff with that. Someone said their cat is Jeff in the chat, and I don't know what the context for it is, but I love that name for a cat. That's amazing.
My cat's name is Jeff. Love it.
That's beautiful. I love the fact that so many people are like bonding in the chat and everything. This is when I think YouTube is a good platform, is when you have something where you're actively live talking to people. So you have a mutual interest, and that's a good way to make friends.
And a lot of people in the chat are also giving each other their Goodreads names and stuff like that too. So if you want to make friends, let people know in the chat. Do you have anything to add, Hannah?
To like the poll statistics, what was the one before the meeting your friends? If meeting your friends in,
have you met them in person?
Oh yeah. I find that like super interesting too, because like I feel like most people haven't met their online friends in person, or at least I hadn't before. Like I started going to conventions. I don't know. I find that super interesting, and I find it that like 85% of people still say no, like you don't have to meet them in person for it to feel like a real friendship. But I agree. I just have more thoughts about that too.
Yeah. I think that's interesting too, because like for me, it didn't feel real until I met people, but that's also like my own social anxiety. I'm like, they hate me.
Yeah, no,
so
I agree. I feel like we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, so I won't get too far into it. But like, obviously, as we can tell, like I don't reach out to people. Like I don't do that. And I know a lot of people in this chat were also saying like, how do you DM people when you're super awkward? I'm the same. Like I'm fine meeting people in real life. I'm fine talking to them in person. It doesn't bother me at all. But for some reason, like DMing people or like even commenting on my friends' Instagram posts, like that's why I barely ever comment on even yours. Like I don't know why. I'm just really uncomfortable like commenting on things online or DMing people online. So it's really hard for me to make friends online, which is why I think it's like shocking to me that I actually have online friends that I've met through the community, which is where I think like meeting people in person becomes way more helpful, but not everybody can do that. So
yeah.
No, I very much agree. I usually, even if we're FaceTiming a lot, like Hannah and I, before we met in person at, was it BookCon 2017? That was the first time we met in person. And I honestly felt like I knew her because we FaceTimed so much. So I think if you can't go to conventions or you can't meet up, FaceTime or Skype or anything where you're talking face to face,
or even call, like even call.
I don't like calling. I prefer seeing people's face, but Hannah likes calling. But something where you're talking in real time, not just texting. If you can, I think that's a great way to. But also, it's not. I mean, I agree. Like, I think it's real. Like, I felt like Hannah and I had met before we met in person, but then there's something about being in person and even seeing like how tall the other person is. Everyone's like, wow, how you're like 2 feet tall.
I so vividly remember when I got to the airport and I went to the baggage claim area and you were waiting there. You were sitting down in one of the chairs, and I started walking up to you, and then you stood up and you were like only this tall, and I was like, why did I think she was taller than me?
Oh my God.
And that's the moment I realized if they're real friends, if they don't abandon me at because of my shortness. But we have some relevant questions to this from Twitter. So if you have any questions you want to ask, please ask us on Twitter or in the chat, and we're going to try to answer as many as we can. From Kendra Deshay, Bookish X Darling. Tips for people like me who feel like they bother everyone with their existence. How to overcome the anxiety of being an awkward bean and making online friends. So I relate to that, and I think all of us
I
relate
know.
to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think that's something to realize is that
Mhm.
other people feel the exact same way. Like you're not the only one who's dealing with those feelings. I've always like even making friends in person has never been easy for me. So making friends online is just so much harder because you fully feel like you're like annoying someone if you keep on messaging them and they're going about their day-to-day life. You don't know like what they're busy with or whatever. But I think that's something that at least for me would help is to realize that a lot of it is in your head and the other person likely is feeling the exact same as you do.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I've learned this year actually is that I really struggle with feeling like a burden to people. I always
Mhm.
think that like if I'm ranting about my problems or talking about how I'm feeling, like it's bothering everybody else. But one of the biggest things I've learned this year is that like someone told me that when you like let somebody help you, you're actually doing them a favor because people like helping other people. So like take the instance of like me and Zoe becoming friends, or even me and Hailey becoming friends. Like they reached out to me, which helped me instead of like making me have to reach out to them. So if you like reach out to someone and you're feeling like awkward and you feel like you're annoying them or something like that, you're probably most likely actually doing them a favor because they probably also feel really awkward about reaching out to you. So I think like reframing it that way sometimes can be really, really helpful in trying to take those emotions away. Because yeah, most people are probably feeling the same thing.
I agree with that as well. But this also is relevant to another question we got from Vanessa at I am Vinexa. What do you ladies think is the best way to start making friends with someone without coming off too strong, especially when it comes to people you admire? See, that's something that I struggle with because I like to reach out to people and then I talk to them a lot. And then if it's someone like Hannah who doesn't reply right away, I feel like I'm coming on way too strong, and then I end up like ghosting them because I'm like, oh no, I need to like retreat. So I think it's really sometimes the other person is just busy, but sometimes they might not want to talk to you. So it's very difficult to understand, especially when you can't see the other person's face when it's over the internet. So what do you think? What is the best way to handle this issue?
I mean, I think it is kind of like tricky, but I always like believe in like trust that the other person is going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like if I am honestly like annoyed with how much someone is reaching out to me, I will just tell them. Like I will just say like, "Hey, like like not in a mean way, obviously. Like I'll say,
Back
"Hey, I'm
off.
busy," or like I can't talk too much
Mm-hmm.
or something like that until it eventually kind of fades out into something. And I feel like if you can read those signals, then you'll kind of get it, especially if they say it directly enough. But I say like just trust that someone's like going to be honest enough with you to tell you like if it's too much for them or if they don't want this friendship or relationship or anything. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it, and then just be yourself otherwise, because like for example, like most people who don't respond, I think, are probably somewhat like me and literally read the text or whatever and don't have time or are just the worst and just
Mm-hmm.
forget to respond all the time, which is what I do. But it doesn't mean that they don't actually want to talk to
Mm-hmm.
you. So just trust that someone's going to be honest enough with you.
I
Yeah.
think that something I've done, my little hack or whatever, like so it's not a hack at all, but I will reach out to them, and if they don't immediately respond, I'll wait a few days and then I'll just message again. So something that I would advise against is if they don't immediately respond, just keep on
Oh
saying like,
yeah.
hey, are
Yeah.
you okay? Like stuff like that. But if you maybe say, oh, just like want to see how you're doing or something like that, or ask an unrelated question, ask something different, because maybe they didn't want to respond to whatever you were asking, or maybe there's just the way you phrase that is a little bit more inviting for conversation.
Hmm.
So oh yes, people said, Lydia Walker just said, my problem is that I don't always know how to respond.
Hmm.
I very much fret over how I'm phrasing things, so it takes me so long to structure a response, especially to someone who I don't know, who I haven't talked to in person, because maybe the way I'm phrasing it makes sense with the way that I speak naturally, but not over text or something like that. So I think patience is the best way to go about that. But also, don't be afraid if it is somebody that you admire, maybe someone that you know from BookTube or somewhere else. Don't feel like they're because they have a following or something like that that you can't reach out to them, because that's dumb. We all just like books. Like, we're not like fancy, or well, I don't even know. But I think that just take the chance. If you think that you will get along in person, reach out to them. But also, if they don't respond, don't take it personally.
Mhm.
Yeah. I will also say that, like, if you're on the opposite end where you're like me and like you take forever to respond to something, if you are kind of like developing a friendship with someone and you have been messaging back and forth a little bit, I usually let people know, like, just FYI, I'm really bad at responding to things. So I promise I'm not ignoring you. I just really suck at texting back. And then people understand. Like, I just think being like completely clear and upfront about your intentions and the way that you are over text or online or whatever is really, really helpful.
You have
I agree.
anything to add, Hailey?
Not really. I agree with
Okay.
everything that's been said. I think something to consider is that you also like don't really know what's going on behind the scenes all the time. So someone might not be responding because they're going through their own things. So
Mhm.
just don't take it personally, I guess, is really the number one thing.
Mhm. But also, yeah, so patience, don't take it personally if they don't respond, and also don't keep on saying like, hey, hey,
Mhm.
hey, because
Mhm.
that's something I've received before
Oh,
from
yeah.
Yeah.
not online friends, but just like people from school or something like that I don't know, I just didn't want to talk to. And then it
Yeah.
was a lot of haze, and I just like made me so anxious, and I just didn't respond. So just take it slow. Don't immediately, if you watch their videos or something like that, you might feel like you have already a relationship with them, but they don't know you yet. So patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this question from Rachel Marie Book Junkie. How can we come to terms with friends leaving online communities such as BookTube and not continuing the friendships after? So I've had a few friends since I've been on BookTube for a while. I've had a few friends who they were on BookTube when I started, and I immediately became friends with them, but they have since left BookTube, and I haven't really talked to them since they left. So have you had any experiences such as that?
Yeah, I have. I've also made friends who I made like super early on into having my channel, and then they eventually stopped making videos, and then we didn't like talk very much afterwards. But I feel like, is the question asking like how do you maintain those relationships after they leave,
Um,
or just
I
how do
think
you deal with it?
we can have two parts to this. So like
Mhm.
how can we come to terms was one of them.
Mhm.
And then the other one is the other side of it is how can we maintain it? So the first one, like
Okay.
how to
I feel like it's pretty similar to kind of like being in high school and then leaving high school. Like, you have friends who you have in high school because you're in high school together, and then you have friends who you had in high school that you're still friends with, and it's not just because you were in high school
Mhm.
together. And I feel like it's the same with BookTube or any community that you're a part of in which you make friends. So like there is still one person who I was friends with when I made my Tumblr, that I still talk to like every once in a while, and then there are a ton of people that I don't talk to at all. I haven't talked to them for years. And I think it's just the same concept. There are some people you're friends with them because you have books in common or making booktube videos in common with them. And once they leave that community, you don't have as much in common anymore, so you just don't stay in touch as often, and that friendship kind of like dies out, which is a very natural thing, and it can be really difficult to deal with. Um, but yeah, I think just accepting that there are some friendships that will last beyond just a common like interest. Um, and I don't know, I think that helps me deal with those types of
Mhm.
friendships.
Yeah. I haven't really had that much experience, at least in this community and online in general, because it took me a really long time to kind of solidify the relationships that I had. And it didn't really feel like it happened for me until I went to BookCon. So I haven't really had anyone. I did talk to Raylene when she first started, but that was because I was first starting too. So she was talking to me then and she left, but like I've still talked to her every now and again. But I think something that you need to accept is the fact that these relationships aren't always going to be forever. And just like Hannah said, it is like high school. Like, if you don't have anything in common besides the fact that you go to the same high school or besides the fact that you read, the relationship isn't going to maybe be as strong if the community is what unified you. They're definitely, like, every relationship is different, so there's not really a right or wrong answer. But I think try and see if there's other things that you can relate to, and try and see if there are things that you can talk about outside of what first brought you together, so you can kind of strengthen that relationship. And if they do leave the community, then you can still be friends with them. But also don't be upset if that relationship doesn't last, because that's just kind of a fact of life. Unfortunately, not every relationship is going to last forever.
Well, this all also relates to a question we got from Caitlin, probably reading. How do you have a lasting online friendship? So it relates to that. So, something that like I feel like if I one day quit BookTube or something like that, which I mean I'm not planning on for any time soon, I feel like I'm still going to be very close friends with you two because
Yeah.
we've talked more than just about books.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about our lives. We've already gone through stuff together. Like I just met Hailey in September, but already I'm like, nah, we're ride or die. Like we're gonna be together forever.
Yeah.
But it's not just because we've met in person. It's the fact that we update each other on our lives. We do talk about BookTube a lot, but we also just like share pictures of our pets. We are friends. We're not just online friends.
Mhm.
So I think becoming vulnerable with one another is really something. Like with my friends who have since quit BookTube, we only really talked about BookTube. We talked about a lot of like surface level things, although we were still friends, but we weren't really vulnerable with one another. We didn't really let each other into our lives. But I think that's with any friendship. You have to experience things together, and that's what will make it last.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what Hailey was saying earlier. It's so much of it is about patience and like having the time to let something like that develop on its own naturally. With us, it's kind of different because all three of us kind of overshare with absolutely everything. Like I'll meet you and like suddenly the next day you'll know my whole life story and you're both the same way. So
What a mood.
it's pretty easy to be vulnerable. Like, it's literally like 1 second we can be singing Mamma Mia in the car and the next second we can be talking about like the most depressing things that have ever happened to us. Like no joke.
This actually happened like a couple of days ago.
Literally, yeah.
Gracious.
So, yeah, I think for us that might be a little different since we're all so vulnerable all the time. But yeah, I think it's just allowing that vulnerability to happen on its own brings you a lot closer.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if you also just try to maintain contact for enough time for it to naturally happen. So, I'm not the best at communication, but I'm getting better. And just texting maybe like a few times a day, a few times like every other day, just checking up on one another. That will help it develop naturally instead of like once somebody posts a video or something like that, you only talk about like their video or like something like that. It's all just let it happen naturally. Just like friendships in real life, you don't like team up for a group project and then 5 minutes in being like, hello, what is your social security number? Like, tell me everything about your life.
Unless you're us. We have a question in the chat that I think is pretty interesting from Hufflepuff Reader. Do you feel like BookTube has cliques? How do you feel about trying to become friends with a group of people who are already friends and know each other really well?
I think it can seem that way. And I definitely, that was something when I was going into BookCon that I was super nervous about because I was like,
I remember our Uber ride to the hotel. Like you were sitting there telling me this whole thing.
Yeah, like I was just, like I said, I've never really been the best at making friends. I come on really strong. I have a very intense personality that doesn't always come through in my videos, but I know that you two can vouch for my very strong personality. But that's kind of made it hard for me to make friends throughout my life. So the fact that I was going somewhere where everyone has been hanging out for years and they've known each other for so long and they have all of these established relationships, I was really nervous about it, as anyone naturally would be, because it's like I'm walking into a like huge established friend group and I'm like, hi, I'm awkward and like blah blah blah. But it wasn't it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting it to be because everyone was very welcoming. There's no one who was like, who are you? Like, I'm not going to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think there's anyone who would ever do that. So I think from an outside observer, it definitely appears that way. And there definitely are certain people who hang out, but that's just like any kind of group that you get. There's certain people that are going to hang out more than others, but there's no one that's going to turn you away or be like, no, like we're in a clique and you can't be a part of it. Like that's not what's going to happen. So I think you kind of need to see it from an inside perspective, but also like trust those that have been on the inside perspective that it's not cliquey, even though it might seem that way at times.
I went to VidCon, I think it was in 2015 or something like that, before like it was even that developed. But I even felt the same way when it was much smaller. I felt like, oh, everyone's just gonna be like, who is she? She just like why is she here invading our personal space? But I think that's just a natural thing when there's people who have met before and you're the newbie on the block. But there are still, I feel like there are people who are calling themselves cliques. Is that a thing? I feel like I've seen that on Twitter.
No clue.
I think it's like I've seen like some people kind of talking about like having their own like squad or clique or something like on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter often enough, so I see like the residual parts of these conversations. But I don't know, kind of ish.
I think maybe it's like a joke. They're like, we're gonna call ourselves like a clique. But oh yeah, someone said I think cliques became squads. Yeah. But again, it's just I don't think like anyone on BookTube has an actual clique.
Yeah.
If they do you want to be friends with them?
There's groups, but
Yes.
there's not like cliques in the negative sense of the word,
Yeah.
where it's like mean girls.
What are you talking
And-
about? We're mean girls.
We are mean
Us
girls.
three. You're Regina George, hands down.
Why did I know you were gonna say that?
Wait, but am I Karen or am I Gretchen?
You're Gretchen. Your hair is full of secrets. We know this.
It is.
Bye.
We know I'm the dumb one. Let's get this over with.
Oh my god. Oh dear.
But what were you saying?
Oh wait, were you finished?
No, I was gonna pick a new question, but you
Okay.
can, if you have
I
more
just
to
wanted
say.
to say I've also experienced the exact same feeling before BookCon 2017 because the only person I actually like knew was Zoe. I hadn't really like FaceTimed with anyone else or like really had like deep conversations with anyone else other than the occasional like back and forths on Twitter or something. So I was so anxious. I was like, it's kind of like going to a new school. Like everybody, sorry, I like keep relating this to high school, but it's kind of the same thing.
It is like high school.
Like everybody knows each other, and then all of a sudden you come in and you're like, "Hello, excuse me, can I be your friend?" And and it's just uncomfortable and it feels weird. But yeah, I've had the same experience. Like nobody was rude or made me feel like I didn't belong there or like I can't be their friend or anything. And then the other thing I will say that after you've been like kind of like on the inside of after you've like experienced this, you'll start to realize that like I feel like you come in thinking you want to be friends with absolutely everyone and like super close to absolutely everyone. And then you like quickly realize you're like, oh wait, there are like certain people that I actually like gravitate towards because like I can be closer to them versus other people. Not because there's something wrong with those other people, but just because like you will click with certain people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like that was something I didn't really realize going into it. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to be friends with absolutely everyone here. And then it was like, wait, no, I don't have to be best friends with everyone here. I'm friends with everyone, but not like, we don't share our social security numbers.
Good to know only I have that.
Clearly.
But that's not to say anyone on BookTube is mean.
No.
It's just
It's like anything else. Certain personalities click
Yeah.
more than others. Like we're all friends with everyone, but that doesn't mean that we hang out with everyone at, like all the time.
Yeah,
If
I was
that
just
makes sense.
like, what I meant by that was that I was under the impression that I would have to like, I would come into this and suddenly like need to become best friends with everyone. That's not the case. You'll find like your people is what I'm saying, even within larger groups.
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
We have a question from the chat from Grace Gomes. How can I avoid coming off as a kind of crazed fan when I'm talking to a big booktuber? TM. because I know some stuff about them through their videos. Well, I've experienced this before, and I think all of us has.
Yeah.
We're talking to somebody who watches our videos, and we haven't seen we haven't seen their videos before, if they are a booktuber, or the fact that they don't make booktube videos, and it's really strange because I've had people like ask about my dad. I'm like, what? You know my dad? But then I realized he's in my video, so
Yeah.
it was just really strange at first. I think maybe just say like, I like your videos. Maybe don't be like, I love your father, something like that. Maybe keep it kind of vague at first, and then later on, because I did this with like Hailey, like I knew stuff about her life because I'd watched her vlogs before, but I didn't want to be like, hello, I just met you 2 seconds ago. I love your cat named Jackson.
You could have. I would have loved it.
Yeah. But I think keeping it vague, and then once you're knowing them more, maybe bringing up some more personal facts. I think that's the most organic way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to consider the setting too.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere like BookCon, it's different because it's expected that like you would watch videos and all that stuff. But for me, it's at work. I'll have people start talking to me about random things that I haven't mentioned in a video for a very long time, and I don't even remember what I said. And I'm kind of like, what? So I guess consider the setting, but like don't ever, that's not to say like ever feel like you're bugging us when you come up to us. I love talking to you. It's just like it's just as awkward for us as it is for you, because everyone who comes up to us like all the time is like, this is so awkward, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, same, like I don't know what to do either. So it's on both sides, but I would say just like, I don't know. I guess think about what you're saying, but like I've never really had something where I'm like, wow, there's just certain times where I'm like, I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's very different for a viewer because they remember those things. And I'm like, I don't remember saying it, but sure.
I feel like I feel like the weirdest part of that entire experience for me is the fact that I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So like then I'm just like I had this happen to me I'm actually like really good friends with her now, but we were in the same class in school, and she came up to me, or no, I think she DM'd me on Twitter or something. She was like, hey, I'm in your class and like I watch your videos. And then I came up to her during the next class and I was like, are you the one who DM'd me? So then we got to talking, and then she was talking to me about like really like personal things that I talked about in a video at some point. I think it was about my cat. And I was like really confused because she like knew so much. And I was like, wait, I forgot that I talked about that. And then I was trying to talk to her and like be her friend. And I was like, wait, I don't know anything about you yet. Like I have to like become your friend. So like truly, I think the weirdest part is that like we don't know that much about the other person.
Yeah.
So, and I wish I did. So I'm just like, yeah. But like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I don't ever think of anyone as like a crazed fan.
Oh yeah.
Like,
No.
yeah, it makes sense to me. Like you watch me talk about books and talk about my life like all the time. So like if you actually watch it, it's kind of flattering that you remember random details about my life that I don't even remember mentioning.
Yeah, it's just it's mostly just strange because of the fact that it's such like an imbalance that I'm like, oh, like I didn't even I don't know your name, but like my dad and stuff like that. But I mean, it is very flattering, especially the fact that people care so much.
Yeah, I think it's that I just don't understand that people like actually pay attention.
Yeah.
Oh, same.
Like it just doesn't, I just think people kind of passively like put it on as they do other stuff, and like maybe they'll read one book I talked about, but like then like when people are like, oh no, I like remember when you mentioned this, I'm like, wait, you actually listen to me? Thank you.
Yeah, we don't do that to her, so it's very strange.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't think that anybody's like really bothering anybody.
No, I don't think anyone's
or if they
bothered by
are, most people will let them know.
Yeah.
This one from TJ Reads the Stars on Twitter. What is some advice you'd offer on setting boundaries for yourself and navigating the boundaries of others online? This is very important because it's all about safety, both like personal safety, like feeling safe, and also like don't give people your social security number. This is difficult for all of us because we are oversharers. But it's also something that I've had to deal with, like talking to other people who aren't as open as I am. But I think, it's all about communication
Yeah.
with other people. So let people know how you feel about like letting other people like know where you live. I'd say don't tell people where you live when you first get to know them. Maybe later on when you've actually seen their face. This is something too, is that we watch each other's booktube videos, so we know that the other person is a real tangible person, and we know what they look like. We know that they're not some creep who, I don't know. But if you're making online friendships, you need to remain safe. So don't give out any personal information until maybe try to FaceTime them or something, and just remain vigilant
Yeah.
until everything checks out.
Constant
No.
vigilance.
Constant vigilance, yes, exactly.
Never give out your social security number. No one needs that.
Don't. We were
Don't
joking,
do
by the
it.
way.
Yeah.
Zoe doesn't have my social security number. Not yet,
No.
at least.
Soon.
Soon. Yeah,
Or
soon.
social insurance number for me. We don't have that.
Mhm.
But I think that you need to be transparent. Like
Mhm.
100% transparent on both sides. If you're being transparent and the other person isn't being transparent, then you have a reason to question, who they are and what they're doing. This is a really hard thing, but it's a really important thing at the same time. I would say I did a little bit of research online earlier today, but do some research if you think that someone might be catfishing you or whatever, because the internet is a great place, but it's also a really scary place, and you do need to be paying attention to things, looking out for red flags. I think our community, for the most part, is pretty safe in terms of the greater span of the internet, but still don't always trust someone right away. Try and kind of like do something where they can't catfish you. I guess try and FaceTime. Definitely don't give them personal information right away. Just see if you can do something where like you can see them actually talking if you suspect that someone might be catfishing you and pretending to be someone else or anything like that.
Also, definitely, if you're underage, don't give out your phone number.
Yeah.
Talk via Twitter DMs maybe, or Instagram DMs. Don't give out your phone number. But then I'd say if you do want to give out your phone number, make sure maybe the first thing you do is FaceTime or video chat, something where you can see their face. Because I've seen a lot of the TV show Catfish, and I know the right way to do this. Don't give out your last name at first. Don't tell them where you live until you feel like it's a safe space. And I would say definitely let your parents know, if you're underage, that you're like getting to know this person, because you need to let your parents know what's going on. They might be able to see some red flags before you do. Also, just like keeping them from your parents is not a good thing. Don't do that. Do you have any other tips for safety?
I have a question. I'm just wondering do parents like still do that thing where they're like online friendships? That's like a person who's catfishing you. They're not real. Because my like mom used to do that when I was
My
on
dad did
Tumblr.
too.
Yeah, my parents.
Yeah, so I'm wondering do parents, like, for everyone in the chat, do any of your parents like still do that if they know about any of your online friendships, or do you not tell them because you think that they will do that? I'm just curious.
Well, I know when I was first going to VidCon, I mean, I'd seen everybody's videos before, so it wasn't as sketchy. But the fact that I never like FaceTime them in person or really talk to any of them one-on-one before I went, I just kind of like was like, yeah, let's share a hotel room together. Let's have like 5 of us be in this small hotel room. This is a great idea. I don't know any of you. I had some questions from my dad.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying that like my parents trust me enough to know when something's wrong, and my parents are new to all this technology, so no. Yeah, it's different for every parent, but just don't tell everybody your life at first.
Yeah.
Maybe later on down the road.
Just be safe.
Especially if you're meeting up in person, you have to
Public place.
FaceTime before public place when you do meet up. But before you do meet up, make sure you FaceTime.
Yeah.
Yes, Safety. Also, watch the show Catfish. That can help a lot. Okay. Oops. A lot of people are asking about how do you suggest from Emmy Bookish on Twitter, how do you suggest making friends when you are not a creator but want to be a part of the community? Also suggestions on making friends when you have social anxiety.
What was the first part of the question? Can you read it again?
Making friends when you're not a creator but want to be part of the BookTube community.
Oh, okay.
I'd say Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. That's the place that I find the most friendships. But I don't think that anybody's against making friends who aren't booktubers. If you're interested in the same books, if you watch BookTube, that's already a big thing to get to know one another about. But what are your ideas? Sorry, I'm checking.
I feel like it's almost like the same because it is obviously different because like we get to see each other making videos all the time. But I don't I think for us and even the people in the polls, like we don't really make our friends through actual YouTube as frequently as we do through other socials. So I feel like it's pretty much the same way you kind of approach making friends on Twitter or Instagram when you are a content creator. I don't think anyone really cares very much unless you also have something in common. So yeah, like I agree. It wouldn't make a difference to me, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best way to do it is to find spaces where people enjoy like what you enjoy as well. I don't know. I'm kind of bringing it back to like there's tons of online book clubs. See if you can find something like that. Like you don't need to be a creator to join that, but you can interact with different creators and different people from all around the world. So I think something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
No, I think I definitely.
We know you need to be praised.
Yes.
So
true. Words are your love language.
Oh my god.
But I definitely think that book clubs are a great way to make friends. Maybe like you don't have to make friends with the creators. I mean, like if you want to, that's like perfect. But maybe make friends with other people who watch BookTube through maybe like through this live show.
Yeah, that's honestly. Well, you see how many people are like starting friendships in the chat right now. Like
I love it. I love it so much.
It's great.
But Goodreads, since we're starting up a book club, maybe we can all become friends on that. Ha ha ha. But I just think that making videos doesn't make you better than anybody else.
No.
We just like to sit in front of a camera and film ourselves. Does that
just
make us cool? No.
It just gives us something in common. That's pretty much it.
We talk about like video making between three of us, so that's something extra that we have in common. But I still talk to a lot of people who don't make videos, and we just talk about books. We just don't talk about cameras or something like that. But also with the social anxiety, personally, I find that making friends online is easier for me than making friends in person.
Same.
Not for Hannah, apparently.
No.
She's more outgoing than us. I'm just like, I feel like I can be in my room with pajamas on and I don't have to look nice. I just can be like, hey, I'm just going to talk to this person. Much less low stakes. I like that. But like we talked about earlier, just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
DM some people. Just be there. And let people know that you're interested in making friendships. Honestly, if you just like DM someone and say, I'm interested in being friends with somebody, that can work like half the time, maybe more than half the time, because people are looking for friends, as you can tell by the people in the chat.
I will also say, like, when I, like, early on, when I first started my channel too, like, if someone did that to me, like, I would instantly want to be their friend, because like now that I'm like, I don't mean this in that no one can approach me and like want to be my friend, or that I won't be anyone's friend, obviously. But like now that like I do have more friends, like, you know, you kind of have to like have your boundaries, because you can't have too many people in your space because that's like a lot of energy. But early on, like when you're first starting out on BookTube, so many people just want to make friends. And honestly, like again, it goes back to just being straightforward. Like just tell someone like, hey, we have like, I really love that book too. Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want to try buddy reading this other book? Or I just really want to be your friend. Can we chat some or something like that? And like
FaceTime.
yes, can we FaceTime? And I feel like most people in the community would also like want to do the same. I know I wanted that when I first started. Like I just wanted to be friends with everybody. So,
and for the social anxiety part, FaceTiming, I mean, I'm bringing it back to FaceTiming again, but that's really helped me with my social anxiety because I still feel, safe. I'm in the safety of my own home, but then I'm still socializing with somebody, which is good for me, good for somebody who doesn't socialize a lot. Ha ha ha.
I love the chat right now because I feel like everyone's ignoring us and just making friends, and it makes
It's
me
honestly,
happy.
it's beautiful.
I mean, that's what I want to
so
see.
beautiful.
Like, forget us, just go make friends.
Yeah.
Be free.
Honestly,
we're giving you.
I mean, that's why we started
this.
this.
Yeah, that is literally why we started this.
Like we started this to bring the community back because it's a struggle sometimes. So, yay!
Oh, this
But,
one from. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
One last question from Brittany Traverse. Do you have any advice on making friends if you're terrible at small talk? Well, I'm terrible at small talk.
Just reveal all of your secrets instantly. Then you skip the small talk and you're already at vulnerability. You're like 3 levels into friendship already. You're good.
But I think, honestly, books are the easiest thing like to start a conversation. Like I made so many friends in my English classes with just talking about either like the books we were reading for class, or if I saw them with a book in their hand, I'd be like, oh, I've heard about that book, blah, 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 blah. So that already gives you a talking point. And the good thing is that with online friendships, you can think through the small talk you want to talk about. Just don't bring up the weather. Don't do that.
Don't put too much thought into it.
Extreme weather. See, I always put too much thought in everything.
Yeah.
So listen
just
to
don't.
We know.
Just message.
Don't be a Zoe.
Just message, man. You got nothing to lose except everything. No, you don't have anything to lose. You can easily make friends. But I think that's going to be all for today's live show. So we do have some collabs that are coming your way since we were physically together in person, which a lot of people on the survey want us to be physically together more, which we wish we could, but we live pretty far away from each other.
We literally live like here in North America.
Yeah. I have to cross a border. I have to ride a moose. I have to rent a polar bear. Like, I can't always do that, man. But so we like as often as we can, we are gonna try and get together and do some collabs and fun stuff like that. But it's not possible to do it all the time. But where was I going with that? Oh, so we have some collabs coming. Tomorrow we are going to be putting out our Harry Potter World vlogs. So those will be going up at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. And
they're
then
all 75 minutes long.
They're all very, very long, like super long, but it's going to be fun. And then we also are going to have collabs coming out. I think March 2nd is the last day that we have collabs.
Every Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the next 4 Saturdays?
Yeah. Yeah, because we filmed a lot, but we have a lot of fun things coming your way. So that
and weird things.
Yeah, we got things. A reminder again about the survey. The link for that will be down below. If you guys wanted to help us out, let me know, let all of us know what you're hoping to see from these live shows. Because like we said, we want it to be something communal. We want it to be interactive and to bring you guys into it. But also can't forget our booktuber of the week. So our booktuber of the week this week is Sophisticated Books, Sophie. Her name on BookTube is amazing, but it's so hard for me to say.
Sophisticated Books.
Sophisticated Books, but she is really big about fostering community, and she gave us some fun facts. Do you have those?
Would you like to hear them, everybody? Okay, so something that I wanted to start doing with our booktubers of the week is I'm going to reach out to them beforehand, and we're going to get some fun facts about them. So here's the fun facts about Sophie. Her biggest obsession besides books and music is makeup, which she learned how to use when she started making videos just at the beginning of 2018. And she's already better at makeup than I am. And she's been
Same.
doing it for a year. Wow. She's only 15 years old. She is a hardcore Ravenclaw represent and is still in high school, but she's always felt like an old soul in a young body, which I wish I could relate to. But that's Sophie. We will leave her link down below. Make sure to check her out. And thanks for being such a supporter of Bookmarked, Sophie.
Yeah.
It really means a lot. And I think she's here right now. So yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
Sophie. How you doing?
All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's chapter. Check out those collabs that we have coming, the one tomorrow, all that stuff. And we will see you next week for our next chapter, which we don't know what it is yet, but we will figure it out.
I think it's graphic
What
design
was it?
and books.
Oh, okay.
Books, yeah. Yeah, we're talking
Okay.
about books next week.
Sorry. Books? What? Weird. So graphic design and books. So we're going to be talking about book covers, which I love. I love talking about book covers.
And I
So
believe we have a guest joining us, but we'll talk about that more
yes,
later.
we
next
shall
week.
see. For now, you can follow the Twitter, which is linked down below as well, Bookmarked Club. That way you can keep up to date with where we are and everything. We're going to be on Hannah's channel next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.